10 Secret Weapons of the Japanese. It's true, the current constitution of Japan bans war and outlaws the maintenance of a military, even though Japan remains a beacon of technological progress with applications that serve their national defense forces as well as their allies, the US Department of Defense. But one must remember the power that the Japan Empire once had. In the middle of the 20th century, occupied, colonized, or flat-out controlled most of East Asia. The empire embarked on a sustained push to become as technologically advanced as any European power, and that led to many developments in military weaponry that garnered the Japanese Empire conquest to vast lands of China to the Philippines throughout World War II. So, in this video, we are going to have a look at 10 Japanese secret weapons. That's your cue to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and share this video. Number 10. Fugo Balloon Bombs. This idea might seem like it came straight from a cartoon, but it would be a bloody cartoon for adults only. Considered as one of the vengeance weapons, the Japanese military planners came up with a myriad of aerial assaults to go with their fighter planes. The Fugo balloon bombs were high-flying balloons that had incendiary bombs attached. These balloon bombs could ride the jet streams of the 5,000 miles needed to reach the United States. Made quite simply from mulberry paper and glued together by potato flour, the balloons were filled with expansive hydrogen and could lift up to 1,000 pounds, with 33 pounds of which being the anti-personnel fragmentation. Number 9. The Empire's Enigma Machine. The most known encryption device of World War II was the German Enigma machine, which was a cipher device developed by Nazi Germany and enabled them to securely communicate with all of its branches. Communication was vital during these times, as they are today, but during war, communications can be the vital key to victory. Even the US had wind talkers, so of course, the Japanese also developed a similar cipher. In 1937, the 97 alphabetical typewriter was developed and would be known through the US codename Purple. It had 2 typewriters and an electrical rotor system, with a 25-character alphabetical switchboard. It worked like the Enigma machine, manually inputting plain text or unencrypted messages, and would further the secure transfer using the sound electric typewriter, which could print the encrypted message on a sheet of paper, whereas the Enigma simply represented the secret messages using blinking lights. The connections of this cipher provided 70 trillion possible coded arrangements, thus saying it was difficult to break the code is an understatement. Number 8. Fukuri. Fukuri suicide attack suits, designed for the Japanese special attack units for the purposes of fending off an invasion of the home islands by Allied forces. The Fukuri were special suits armed with a mine containing 33 pounds of explosives attached to a 5-meter bamboo pole. The divers, who would be weighed down with 20 pounds of lead, would walk deep underwater for long durations and reach the hull of the enemy ship, and would detonate the explosives, killing themselves in the process. Did you think kamikaze was only with a fighter jet? Number 7. Kaiten Suicide Torpedo. Speaking of suicide, here's the Kaiten Suicide Torpedo, also known as the Heaven Shaker, were manned 15-yard-long torpedoes that were packed with over 3,000 pounds of explosives piloted by humans throughout the ocean, with the objectives of damaging and possibly taking down an Allied ship, and in the process of taking down their pilots with it. In action, the Kaiten was always operated by one man, but the larger models could carry 2 or even 4. They were designed to be launched from the deck with a submarine or surface ship, or from coastal installations as a defensive weapon. Number 6. Oka Kamikaze Plane. It was during the closing stages of the Pacific Campaign of World War II, when Japanese special attack units filled with military aviators flew suicide attack missions by intentionally crashing their aircraft into enemy ships. We all know the story, but what you didn't know is that as the war progressed, the Japanese refined their kamikaze techniques and began to develop specific planes explicitly for that purpose. The Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka Kamikaze plane was a rocket-propelled aircraft that was purpose-built for these suicide missions. As the planes were loaded with bombs, torpedoes, and other explosives, these direct body attacks to Allied forces' warships proved to be very damaging, and they were able to sink a huge number of ships with a 19% success rate. Number 5. Super Ultra Heavy Tanks. It's true, the Japanese Empire wasn't conventionally known for their tanks, yet they managed to manufacture highly effective units for their army. Late in the war, the Japanese were said to have produced a super heavy tank for use in their campaigns. Said to have been capable of carrying a crew of 11 within its 120-ton body, the super heavy tank featured 3 turrets, 1 large and 2 smaller guns. These tanks were seen in action in Manchuria, but those reports were never fully confirmed. A more advanced prototype, the Ultra Heavy OI, had 4 turrets and could crew more than 15 people. Number 4. Sentoku-class mega submarines. Germans and Russians were known for making really decent submarines. The Japanese Empire was no different. The Sentoku mega submarines were the largest submarines to ever see action during World War II, and were the largest ever until nuclear ballistic missile submarines were constructed in the 1960s. 18 of these huge subs were planned to be made, but only 3 were ever completed by the Imperial Army. These mega subs had a water displacement rate of 6,670 tons and were on the average up to 400 feet long with a width of almost 40 feet. These submarines could carry 800 kilograms of torpedoes or bombs. Plus, the Sentoku-class mega submarines could carry airplanes and launch them from a catapult located in the front tower, and the launch could commence within 45 minutes of surfacing. Number 3. Unit 731 and Bioweapons. Make no mistake about it, during the course of the war, Japanese forces experimented with various biological weapons, including the toxic defoliation bacilli bomb, or the precursor to the herbicide chemical agent Orange, and the flea bomb used to spread bubonic plague. The Imperial Japanese Army had a covert unit called 731, which was its biological and chemical warfare research and development unit, performing tests on numerous human subjects using many different diseases. They also developed bombs that were aimed to infect agriculture, reservoirs, and water sources, and other areas. More than 200,000 Chinese were said to have been killed in germ warfare field experiments. Moreover, plagues using infected animals, which led to outbreaks of the plague, killing 30,000 people in China at the northeastern city of Harbin. Number 2. Z Super Bombers. Imperial Japan also tried to develop their own intercontinental bomber. In 1941, they introduced the experimental 13She attack bomber, which is a 4-engine long-range heavy bomber. They wanted to pursue aircrafts that were larger, faster, and could carry heavier loads, targeting planes that could fly at beyond 32,000 feet and could carry up to 22 units of 1,000-pound bombs. Designs show that the Japanese army were developing a number of these planes, such as the Nakajima G10N, which had a 237-foot wingspan and a total length of 144 feet, powered by 6 engines of 5,000 horsepower, each to push speeds of up to 365 miles per hour. The downfall, however, was due to the deteriorating war conditions, and Project Z was eventually cancelled in 1944. Number 1. Kugo Death Ray. A concentrated beam that could take down aircrafts hundreds of miles away, and was a target for the Japanese as well. It is said that the Japanese death ray development began as early as 1939, with researchers from Noborito Laboratories developing a high-powered magnetron that could generate a beam of radiation. This beam measured 8 inches in diameter, with an output of 100 kilowatts. However, the death ray was never fully practical because the power needed to make the device operational was enormous, and the target, despite having quite a range of up to 1,000 yards away, would still have to sit for at least 5 minutes for any major damage to occur. Which of these weapons drops your jaw? And what other facts did you learn from this video? Give your thoughts in the comment section below. Then be sure to follow protocol by hitting that like and subscribe button.